All right, Kamala Harris has already changed how some people feel about the economy just by becoming the Democratic candidate. The University of Michigan released its latest consumer sentiment survey today. Democrats and independents are both feeling more optimistic about the economy compared to just last month. Sentiment among Republicans moved in the opposite direction. The same survey found that more people believe Harris is better for the economy than Trump. She's ahead on that question by a very slight margin, actually within the margin of error, to be honest, but 41 to 38%. But Trump had been holding a 5-point advantage over Joe Biden. Ben Harris was an Assistant Treasury Secretary for the Biden administration. He helped craft Biden's economic platform during his 2020 campaign. Ben, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to talk about the polls in just a moment. But first of all, I want to get your take on her speech. Did she do a good job of not just distinguishing herself from Trump, but also actually distinguishing herself from Biden as well? That is key here.
Yeah, I think she did several important things in that speech. The first thing that she did was she was very forward-looking. So you'd ask, is she going to basically defend her record as vice president, or is she going to try to distinguish herself from the current administration? I mean, she made very clear that she wants to be forward-looking and she wants to talk about the future. Also, there was a decided focus on the middle class as part of that speech. And my guess is that will be a central theme in her campaign going forward. Also, and this was less in the speech and more in some of the written materials, there's a real through line in terms of competition. She's looking to level the playing field for American families and businesses. And when it comes to markets, it's obvious that she's a capitalist, but you'll hear her talking more about being a pro-competition president. That will obviously be a through line moving forward.
There are some who question what sort of impact some of her policies will have on inflation. This idea of sort of giving first-time home buyers $25,000 to put towards a down payment. I mean, that, let me tell you, that will win you votes for sure. But is it sort of good economic policy? A lot of people are saying, look, if you do that, then demand for houses increase. And then you have, you sort of fuel the problem you're trying to solve in terms of raising house prices. So yes, very sort of popular policies here, but are they good sort of sound economic policies, Ben?
Yeah, great question. So on the first-time homebuyer tax credit, which by the way was in President Biden's 2020 platform as well, I think that has to be looked at in conjunction with the supply expansion. I mean, the number one problem with the housing market in the United States are that we have about 4 or 5 million too few homes. So it's critical that we first build a lot more homes, and that was central to her proposal. On the first-time homebuyer tax credit, it is probably true that some of that will get capitalized in the price of the home. But if you're a first-time homebuyer and you're receiving that $25,000, there's no way you're not coming out ahead. And one of the drawbacks to the U.S. housing market is that it's increasingly getting to the point where young people just can't afford the down payment on a home. So I think that proposal was laser focused at families that haven't yet accumulated the cash to put a down payment on the home. People shouldn't have to wait until their late 40s or 50s to buy a house. So I think it needs to be looked at in conjunction with the supply expansion, and it needs to be looked at in conjunction with the realities of the U.S. housing market.
One of the challenges, I think, for her going into the speech is this idea of winning back voters who still, at this point in time, blame Biden for some of the economic challenges in this country. I mean, obviously, I've talked about this on the show a few times now, just this idea that the economy in the U.S. is robust, it's resilient, but for a long time, people just simply weren't feeling that, and they blamed Biden for rising prices. She has to now, even though she's obviously attached to Biden for obvious reasons, she now has to win those voters back. Did she do a good job on that front?
Yeah, I mean, I think that by being forward-looking, she can sidestep that conversation a little bit. But also, and as you probably know, voters in the U.S. do not do a great job of accurately characterizing the macroeconomy. So, for example, there was a Morning Consult poll in 2022 that asked U.S. voters, are we in the middle of a recession? We hadn't been in a recession for a year and a half, and we wouldn't be in a recession for at least another 2 years. But half of respondents said we were in a recession. You see similar responses when we ask people, what's the current inflation rate. So we've done research here at Brookings, and you see 25% of people saying the inflation rate is 10% or higher at a time when it was 3.1%. So part of her challenge will be defending the record, but part of the challenge will also be setting the record straight and just reminding people how terrific the U.S. economy currently is.
All right, Ben Harris, live for us there. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.